Hello, everyone.
Have you ever felt like your English is good, really good, but somehow still not quite where you want it to be? Maybe you can understand almost everything, but expressing your ideas with precision, confidence, and nuance still feels just a little out of reach. Or maybe you've hit that strange stage where you know a ton of vocabulary, but you're not always sure how to use those words naturally in real-life conversations. If that sounds familiar, then stay right here, because over the next hour, we're going to break through that plateau together. Today's deep dive is built for advanced learners who want to move from strong English to effortlessly fluent English. We'll explore realistic conversations, everyday expressions that native speakers actually rely on, natural phrasing, subtle grammar choices, richer vocabulary, cultural understanding, and practical thinking strategies that make your English sound clearer, smoother, and more instinctive. This is the kind of episode you listen to when you're serious about polishing your English until it finally feels natural, not forced. And here's the best part. Everything you'll hear today is based on real situations, real communication patterns, and real language used around the world, not textbook cliches. Thanks so much for choosing to learn with English in Motion today. I'm really glad you're here. If you enjoy this kind of advanced listening practice, make sure to like the video and subscribe. It truly helps the channel grow and brings more high-quality lessons your way. All right, let's dive straight in. At the C1 level, you're no longer struggling with the basics. You can communicate. You can follow conversations. You can participate in discussions. The real challenge now is refinement, sounding natural, flexible, and adaptable. And that all starts with how you think in English, not just the words you use. So let's begin with something that advanced learners often overlook: real-time reaction language. These are the small, subtle expressions that native speakers use constantly to navigate conversations. Expressions that help you sound engaged, thoughtful, and confident. Think about phrases like, "I see what you mean. That's an interesting angle. I hadn't considered it that way before. Let me think that through. I'm not entirely sure yet, but here's what I'm leaning toward." These small phrases are incredibly powerful at the advanced level because they show your ability to respond naturally, not mechanically. They buy you time to think, they show emotional intelligence, and they make your speech feel steady and mature. Let's look at a quick example. Imagine you're discussing a complicated issue at work. Maybe your team is debating whether to change the direction of a project. Someone shares a surprising opinion, and your mind needs a moment to process it. A native speaker wouldn't jump straight into silence or panic. They'd use a softening phrase like, that's a fair point. Let me walk through it for a second." Or, "I hear where you're coming from, but I see a couple of potential concerns." These kinds of statements help guide conversations gently. They help you sound thoughtful instead of abrupt. And the way you handle these moments is what truly separates C1 from C2. Segment 2, natural complexity, advanced but not artificial. A common mistake advanced learners make is using overly complicated vocabulary just to sound advanced. But natural English isn't about using the longest or most academic word. It's about choosing the word that fits the situation. For example, instead of saying, "This issue is exceedingly intricate," a native speaker might simply say, this is pretty complicated. Instead of, I will attempt to rectify the situation, we naturally say, I'll try to fix it. Using natural English doesn't make you less advanced. In fact, mastering when to simplify and when to elevate your language is a hallmark of a high-level speaker. Here's a helpful rule. Advanced English is clear English, and clarity often comes from knowing when to stay simple and when to add nuance. For example, if you're explaining a technical process, small details matter. But if you're describing daily life or expressing personal feelings, simpler language often feels more honest. The real skill is adjusting your tone depending on the context. That's what we'll practice throughout this episode. Segment 3. Real-life scenario navigating complex decisions. Let's explore our first realistic conversation, something that adults face all the time. Deciding whether to accept a new job offer. Listen to how natural advanced English sounds in this kind of scenario. Person A. I got the offer this morning and honestly, I'm torn. The position sounds exciting, but the workload seems pretty intense. Person B. Yeah, I get that. What's holding you back the most? The schedule or the responsibilities? Person A. Probably the schedule. I want to avoid burning out again, but the company's values really resonate with me. Person B. Right. So it's one of those trade-offs. Have you tried listing out the pros and cons just to get everything out of your head? Person A. I did. And the funny thing is, both lists are almost the same length. Person B. In that case, maybe think about which option brings you closer to the life you want long-term. The short-term stress might be temporary, but your growth could be huge. Now, notice the phrasing here. I'm torn. What's holding you back the most? It's one of those trade-offs. Get everything out of your head. Short-term stress might be temporary. These aren't academic phrases. They're authentic expressions people use daily. This is the type of language that makes you sound fluent at a deeper, more human level. Segment 4. Thinking on your feet. One of the most valuable C1 skills is the ability to respond under pressure. When you don't have time to prepare or rehearse your words, let's practice this mindset. Imagine you're suddenly asked a difficult question in a meeting. What's your opinion on the new proposal? You're unsure. Your brain needs a second. Here are natural ways to respond. Good question. Let me think out loud for a second. My first reaction is positive, but I'd like to look at the details. Off the top of my head, I think it could work, but I'd need more information. These expressions show confidence, honesty, and clarity. They turn hesitation into professionalism. And mastering this type of language is crucial for C1 listeners who want to operate smoothly in English-speaking environments. Segment 5. Advanced vocabulary through real context, not lists. One of the biggest breakthroughs at the C1 level is understanding vocabulary not as individual words, but as clusters of meaning, groups of expressions connected by context. Learning vocabulary this way helps you speak more naturally and recall language more quickly. Let's explore a practical theme: decision-making and problem-solving, since adults use this language constantly in work, relationships, and daily life. Here are some natural expressions that come up all the time. Weigh your options. Second-guess yourself. Look at the bigger picture. Trust your gut. Take something into account. Lean toward something. Have mixed feelings. Play it safe. Take a chance. These aren't fancy words. They're real expressions used in daily discussions. Now let's see them in action in a realistic situation. Scenario: a friend is unsure about moving to another city. Person A: I've been going back and forth on this all week. I can't decide whether to accept the transfer. Person B: What's making you second guess yourself? Person A: Well, part of me wants to play it safe and stay here, but another part of me feels like I should take the chance. Person B: Right, I'd look at the bigger picture. 5 years from now, which choice would you be happier about? Person A: That's the thing. I'm leaning toward moving, but I still have mixed feelings. Look at how all the vocabulary blends smoothly into the conversation. That's what natural C1 English sounds like. Not stiff, not overcomplicated, just realistic and expressive. Segment 6: Fluency through shadowing and natural speech rhythm. Many learners think fluency means speaking fast, but real fluency is about rhythm, clarity, and connected speech. Native speakers don't always speak fast. They speak in a flow. Listen to this natural rhythm. I mean, if you think about it, most of our daily decisions aren't actually about right or wrong. They're more about what fits our priorities at that moment. Notice how it blends. I mean, if you think about it, most of our daily decisions aren't actually about what fits our priorities. No one speaks word by word. English flows in small chunks. Here's another example of natural rhythm. It kind of depends on what you're hoping to get out of the experience. Try saying it out loud. The words connect. It kind of depends on what you're hoping to get out of the experience. This is the type of speech pattern shadowing helps you master. If you were shadowing right now, you'd repeat along with me. I see what you're saying. That makes sense. Let me think this through. Here's what I'm trying to say. I'm not convinced yet, but I'm open to it. These are the natural spoken bridges that create smooth, confident fluency. Segment 7: Subtle grammar that makes a big difference at the C1 level. Grammar isn't about rule memorization anymore. It's about using subtle structures that help you sound more precise and thoughtful. Let's explore 3 subtle structures that advanced speakers rely on constantly. 1. Softening language, avoiding sounding too direct. This is huge in English because sounding too blunt can feel rude. Compare direct. I don't like your idea. Natural. C1. I'm not sure this approach works for what we need. Or, I see the intention behind it, but I have a few concerns. Softening is not weakness. It's emotional intelligence. 2. Hedging, expressing uncertainty politely. Hedging phrases include, it seems like, it might be worth considering. There's a chance that, I'm not entirely sure, but from what I can tell, they allow you to express complex or delicate ideas without sounding forceful. 3. Mixed conditionals. These help you talk about imaginary situations that connect past and present. Example: if I had taken that job, I'd be living in Spain right now. Or, if I were more patient, I wouldn't have reacted the way I did yesterday. Notice how these structures allow richer, more emotional storytelling. Segment 8. Real conversation, navigating a personal dilemma. Let's move into another realistic conversation, something that happens in everyday adult life, deciding whether to confront a friend about a problem. Person A: I've been debating whether I should say something to Daniel. He's been really distant lately, and I'm not sure if I should bring it up. Person B, yeah, that's tricky. If you were in his position, would you want someone to check in? Person A, honestly, yeah, but I don't want to come across as pushy. Person B, you don't have to be direct. You could just say, hey, is everything okay? I've noticed you seem a bit off. Something gentle like that. Person A, that's true. I guess I'm overthinking it. Person B, we all do. But if it's bothering you, it might be worth bringing up. You never know what someone's going through. This is advanced English at its most natural. I've been debating whether that's tricky, come across as pushy. You seem a bit off. It might be worth bringing up. None of these are academic, but all are deeply native-like. Segment 9, Cultural Nuance, Understanding the Unsaid. At the C1 level, understanding English isn't just about listening to words. It's about noticing what's not said. For example, when someone says, I'm not sure I can commit to that. Depending on the tone, they might mean, I don't want to do this, or I'm overwhelmed, or I need more information, or please ask someone else. Tone, pace, emphasis, these give the real meaning. Another example, that's interesting. This can mean, I don't agree. I'm confused. That's unusual. I don't know what to make of this. Or genuinely, I'm curious. This is the type of awareness that moves you closer to native-like communication. At the C1 level, one of the biggest skills you need is the ability to hear subtext, the meaning behind the literal words. English speakers often avoid being too direct, so the real message is hidden in tone, pauses, or the choice of a softer phrase. Let's look at a few examples. If someone says, I mean, if that's what you really want, what they might actually mean is, I don't think this is a good idea. I'm concerned, but I don't want to argue. Are you sure you've thought this through? Or if someone says, no worries if not. This can mean, I hope you can do it, but I won't pressure you. I'm being polite, but I'd appreciate it if you said yes. I want to ask, but I don't want to seem demanding. These subtleties are everywhere in English. Once you start recognizing them, everything becomes clearer. Emails, meetings, friendships, relationships, work communication. Subtext is the invisible layer of fluent English. Here's another example. We should catch up sometime. Depending on how it's said, it could mean, let's actually meet soon. I'm just being polite. I don't have time right now, but I want to stay friendly. I'm avoiding committing to a specific plan. Being able to read these signals makes your communication more accurate, more empathetic, and more natural. Segment 11, Mastering Nuance, Polite Disagreement. A truly advanced speaker knows how to disagree without sounding confrontational. This is a major part of real English communication, especially in workplaces, academic settings, and multicultural environments. Here are natural ways to express disagreement politely. I see where you're coming from, but I'm not fully convinced. That's an interesting take, though I see it a bit differently. I get the logic behind that, but here's another angle. I might be wrong, but I interpreted it another way. I respect that perspective, but I'd prefer. These expressions do several things at once. They show respect. They soften your message. They keep the conversation collaborative. They avoid making the other person feel attacked. Now look at this realistic disagreement. Person A. I think we should launch the project earlier. Waiting any longer feels like a waste of momentum. Person B. I see what you mean, and you're right about the momentum, but I'm a bit hesitant about rushing the testing phase. Person A. Fair point. I guess I'm just worried we'll lose the window. Person B. Totally understandable. Maybe we can compromise. Launch the teaser now and release the full version next month. Notice the natural flow. I see what you mean. I'm a bit hesitant. Fair point. Totally understandable. Maybe we can compromise. This is high-level English in real life. Segment 12. Building a natural C1 mindset. Advanced learners sometimes forget that speaking naturally is more about thinking naturally than memorizing words. So let's explore 3 mindset shifts that transform your English. 1. Stop aiming for perfection. Aim for clarity. Perfect grammar doesn't guarantee good communication, but clear, structured speech does. When a native speaker is unsure, they say, "Let me break it down." Here's the main idea. What I'm trying to say is, this mindset helps you stay calm and logical while speaking. 2. Embrace flexibility. C1 level English requires adapting your tone. Formal at work, casual with friends. Neutral in mixed environments, warm and empathetic in personal conversations. Think of English as a set of tools. You choose the right one depending on the situation. 3. Focus on intention, not memorization. This is key. Ask yourself, what do I want to communicate right now? Do you want to reassure someone, express doubt, show empathy, add emphasis, soften what you say, sound confident, negotiate politely? Once you know your intention, your language choices become natural. Segment 13. Practical scenario. Small talk that actually matters. Small talk may feel superficial, but it's actually one of the most powerful tools in English communication. Native speakers use it to bond, to check the mood, and to create emotional comfort. Here's an example of natural, meaningful small talk. Person A. Hey, you look a bit tired today. Long night. Person B. Yeah, sort of. Couldn't fall asleep for some reason. My mind was everywhere. Person A. I get that. Mine does the same thing sometimes. Anything in particular stressing you out? Person B. Just juggling too much at the moment. Person A. Yeah, that's rough. Let me know if you want to talk through anything. This is not just weather conversation. This is connection. Authentic human small talk. What real adults use every day. And notice how simple the language is. Long night? My mind was everywhere. Anything stressing you out? That's rough. Talk through anything. Natural, relatable, and emotionally intelligent. Segment 14. Listening for emotion, not just language. At this level, you should also train your ear to catch emotional signals. Tone, pace, pauses, breathing, word choice. For example, if someone says, "It's fine," the meaning depends entirely on tone. Calm tone. "It really is fine." Sharp tone. "It's not fine, but I don't want to argue." Tired tone. "I've given up caring about this." Soft tone. "I'm disappointed, but I accept it." That's why advanced listening practice is not just about understanding words, it's about understanding people. Segment 15. Advanced story. A real-world C1 level conversation. Stories are one of the best ways to absorb natural English. So here's a realistic scenario that many adults can relate to. Balancing personal goals with family expectations. Imagine this conversation between 2 colleagues during a lunch break. Person A. My parents want me to move back home for a while. They think it's the safest option, but honestly, it feels like a step backward. Person B, yeah, I get that. It's tough when their intentions are good, but it doesn't line up with what you want right now. Person A, exactly. I know they mean well, but I've finally built some independence here, and I don't want to lose that momentum. Person B, so what's your plan? Are you leaning towards staying? Person A, I think so, but I don't want to disappoint them. Every time we talk about it, I feel guilty. Person B, totally understandable, but you're the one living your life. Maybe you could explain your reasoning without making it sound like you're rejecting their help. Person A, yeah, something like, I appreciate your concern, but I need to keep building my own path right now. Person B, exactly, honest but not harsh. This conversation is natural English at a mature emotional level, full of nuance. They mean well. I don't want to lose that momentum. I feel guilty. You're the one living your life. Honest, but not harsh. These are the kinds of phrases adults use every day when discussing sensitive topics. Segment 16, Emotional Vocabulary for Real-Life Situations. Advanced English requires the ability to talk about emotions accurately and naturally. Instead of saying, I'm sad, I'm stressed, or I'm happy, here are more nuanced alternatives people use. I'm a bit overwhelmed lately. I'm not at my best right now. I feel stuck. I'm genuinely excited about this. I'm relieved, to be honest. I'm frustrated, but I'll figure it out. I feel disconnected. I'm in a better place now. Let's put some of these into context. Person A, hey, how have you been? You seem a little off today. Person B, yeah, I'm just overwhelmed. Too many things piling up at once. Person A, anything you want to talk about? Person B, not sure yet. I'm just trying to get my head straight. Natural emotional communication, simple words, strong meaning. Segment 17, Cultural Awareness, how English speakers show support. Understanding culture is a massive part of advanced listening. English speakers from countries like the US, Canada, the UK, Australia often express support indirectly, using gentle, encouraging language instead of giving direct solutions. Expressions like, I'm here if you need anything. Let me know how I can help. Take your time. No pressure at all. I totally get why you'd feel that way. That sounds incredibly tough. You handled that well. These phrases don't force advice. They create emotional space. Here's a small example. Person A, my presentation didn't go as planned. I kind of froze halfway through. Person B, that sounds rough, but honestly, you handled it better than you think. Anyone would have been thrown off in that situation. This combination, acknowledging the problem plus reassuring the person, is very natural in English-speaking cultures. Segment 18, Advanced Grammar Through Real Examples. Let's explore grammar the natural way, through context. 1. Inversion for emphasis. Used when you want to emphasize a strong opinion or surprising situation. Never have I felt that overwhelmed during a meeting. Rarely do we get a chance like this. Only after talking to him did I understand the whole situation. 2. Indirect questions. Sound more polite and less forceful. Instead of, why are you upset? Try, could I ask what's been bothering you? Or do you mind sharing what's going on? 3. Non-defining relative clauses. Add detail smoothly without interrupting the flow. My coworker Sarah, who's usually so calm, completely panicked yesterday. The restaurant which we tried last month just closed down. These structures appear constantly in educated, fluent English. Segment 19, Real-World Dialogue, Complex Workplace Situation. Let's observe a conversation about a workplace challenge, something every professional encounters, unclear expectations. Person A, I'm confused about what the manager actually wants. The instructions were all over the place. Person B, same. I tried asking for clarity, but the answer was still vague. Person A, yeah, I don't want to mess this up. If I had known the priorities earlier, I wouldn't be scrambling now. Person B, I get that. Maybe we should email her a quick summary of what we understood, just to make sure we're aligned. Person A, that's a good idea. Something like, just to confirm, here's what we're planning to do. Person B, exactly. Clear and simple. This dialogue includes all over the place. Asking for clarity. I wouldn't be scrambling now. Just to confirm, make sure we're aligned. These are extremely common in professional English. Segment 20. Mental frameworks for speaking confidently to reach effortless fluency. You need more than vocabulary. You need mental frameworks that help you communicate calmly and effectively. Framework 1. The pause, think, speak method. Native speakers pause all the time. Silence is not a mistake. It's clarity. Instead of panicking, try, let me think for a moment. Let me process that. Give me a second to consider it. You sound confident, not unsure. Framework 2, the what I mean is. Strategy when you get stuck. Clarify, what I mean is, the main point I'm trying to make is, this resets your thought process. Framework 3, the emotion plus reason. Formula powerful in real communication. I'm excited because. I'm worried because. I'm unsure because. This makes your speech more human and relatable. Segment 21, Advanced Listening Practice. Interpreting tone. Here are 3 lines spoken with different tones. Notice how the meaning changes. Phrase, I'll think about it. Tone 1, calm, neutral. I'll think about it, meaning maybe. Tone 2, slightly annoyed. I'll think about it, meaning probably not. Tone 3, warm and sincere. I'll think about it, meaning I genuinely need time to decide. Tone transforms meaning. Understanding this is true. C1 Mastery. Segment 22, Complex Adult Topics. Navigating life transitions at the C1 level. You should be comfortable discussing deeper, more complex ideas. Things adults genuinely talk about. Career changes, life transitions, long-term goals, fears, regrets, pressure, expectations. Here's a natural conversation about someone considering a major career shift. Person A, I've been thinking about switching careers, but the idea honestly terrifies me. I've been in the same field for almost a decade. Person B, yeah, that's a huge decision. What's pushing you toward making the change? Person A, I feel stuck. I've hit a point where the work doesn't challenge me anymore, and I'm starting to feel disconnected from what I'm doing. Person B, that makes sense. It's tough to stay motivated when the job doesn't excite you anymore. Person A, exactly, but the uncertainty freaks me out. What if I make the switch and regret it? Person B, well, that's a real possibility, but staying in a job that drains you isn't exactly risk-free either. This is grown-up English conversation at its most natural. Honest, reflective, emotional, uncertain. Expressions like, I feel stuck. I've hit a point where I'm starting to feel disconnected. The uncertainty freaks me out. It's not risk-free either. These are powerful, everyday phrases used by fluent speakers in real situations. Segment 23, High-Level Listening, Identifying Uncertainty. English speakers rarely say, "I don't know" directly. Instead, they use soft, subtle expressions. Here are some common phrases that show uncertainty. I'm not entirely sure yet. I haven't decided. I'm going back and forth on it. I'm trying to get a clearer picture. It's still up in the air. I need more information. Part of me thinks yes, but part of me isn't convinced. Let's put this into a realistic exchange. Person A. So are you taking the job or not? Person B. It's still up in the air. I'm weighing a few things. Person A. What's the main thing holding you back? Person B. Honestly, I don't know if the timing is right. I'm not entirely sure I'm ready to take on that much responsibility. You can hear the uncertainty, not stated directly, but woven into the phrasing. This is exactly the kind of nuance you need to master at the C1 level. Segment 24, How Advanced Speakers Organize Their Thoughts. At this level, clear communication is more important than complex vocabulary. So here are natural ways to structure your thoughts while speaking. 1. First of all, shows you're beginning a structured idea. 2. What I'm trying to say is useful when clarifying or rephrasing. 3. Another thing to keep in mind is adds information smoothly. 4. At the end of the day, summarizes your final point. Let's combine them. First of all, I totally understand the pressure you're feeling. What I'm trying to say is you don't have to rush. Another thing to keep in mind is that opportunities come and go, but your well-being matters more. At the end of the day, choose what makes sense for your long-term happiness. This is polished, natural, advanced speech. Something you'd hear from a thoughtful professional. Segment 25, Advanced Vocabulary for Complex Topics. Here are natural, sophisticated words that native speakers use constantly in adult conversations. Resilience, the ability to bounce back boundaries, limits you set for your well-being. Balance, healthy distribution of time and energy. Fulfillment, deep sense of satisfaction, burnout, emotional plus mental exhaustion, priorities, what matters most. Insight, deep understanding, perspective, the way you see something. Commitment, dedication to something or someone. Uncertainty, not knowing what will happen. These words appear all the time at the C1 and C2 levels, especially in discussions about life, goals, health, relationships, and work. Segment 26, Real Dialogue, Setting Personal Boundaries. Boundaries are a big part of modern adult communication, and English speakers talk about them often. Here's a very natural example. Person A, I'm exhausted. People keep asking for help, and I don't know how to say no without feeling guilty. Person B, I've been there. It's hard, but you need boundaries. What are you comfortable with? Person A, I don't mind helping, but I don't want to feel obligated all the time. Person B, then say something like, I'd love to help, but I'm at capacity right now. It's honest, but still polite. Person A, yeah, I need to practice saying things like that. This incorporates advanced emotional language. I'm at capacity right now. I don't want to feel obligated. It's honest, but polite. This is authentic, modern English. Segment 27, Advanced Reading Skill, Summarizing Complex Ideas. A major part of C1 listening is learning how to summarize big ideas in a simple way. Native speakers do this constantly, in meetings and explanations and arguments and storytelling and problem solving. Here are natural phrases for summarizing, so basically, in other words, the main idea is, long story short, to put it simply, for example. So basically, the issue isn't the workload, it's the lack of clarity around expectations. Another, in other words, you're feeling unappreciated, not overwhelmed. Summarizing helps you show strong comprehension, and it's a clear indicator of C1 mastery. 28. Deeper topic, dealing with personal doubt. Let's move into a deeply realistic conversation topic, self-doubt. Adults face this constantly, especially when making transitions or facing uncertainty. Here's a natural exchange. Person A. Lately, I've been doubting myself more than usual. I keep wondering whether I'm actually good enough. Person B. I think everyone goes through that. What triggered it? Person A. A mix of things. I messed up a project at work, and then I started comparing myself to other people. Person B. That happens, but one mistake doesn't define your ability. You're allowed to have off days. Person A. I know. I just wish I could shake this feeling. Person B. You will. Sometimes you just need to step back to see the full picture. This includes important advanced expressions, more than usual. A mix of things. Off days. Shake this feeling. See the full picture. All common, natural, emotionally intelligent English. Segment 29, Advanced Listening Through a Multi-Layered Conversation. At the C1 level, conversations often have multiple layers: the surface message, the emotional message, and the unspoken message. Let's explore a realistic dialogue filled with subtlety. Context. Two co-workers discuss a team project that has been delayed. Person A. Hey, I wanted to check in about the project timeline. I've noticed we're falling behind a little. Person B. Yeah, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. Things got a bit overwhelming on my end. Person A. I figured something was up. Anything I can help with? Person B. Maybe. I don't want to drop the ball again. I've just been juggling too many things at once. Person A. Totally understand. Why don't we split the tasks again? We can prioritize what needs attention first. Person B. That would help a lot. Thanks for stepping in. Layers in this conversation. Surface layer. They're behind schedule. Emotional layer. Person B is stressed and possibly embarrassed. Unspoken layer. Person A is offering support without judgment. Pay attention to phrases like, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. I figured something was up. Drop the ball. Juggling too many things. Stepping in. These expressions create a natural supportive tone, something advanced speakers handle well. Segment 30. Natural connectors for smooth C1 level speech. To sound natural and fluid, advanced speakers use connectors, simple words or phrases that keep the conversation flowing. Here are some commonly used connectors that elevate your speech. To be honest, on top of that said, even so. At the same time, in contrast. On the other hand, for the most part, to some extent. Let's hear them in context. I like working remotely. It gives me freedom. That said, I do miss the face-to-face interaction sometimes. The job is stressful, but at the same time, it's incredibly rewarding. These connectors help frame your thoughts, signal transitions, and make your speech more mature and organized. Segment 31, Dealing with Conflict. C1 English for difficult moments. Conflict is part of adult life, at work, with friends, partners, or family. Advanced English speakers handle conflict not with direct confrontation, but with measured, thoughtful language. Here are some natural conflict management phrases. I want to make sure we're on the same page. I feel like there might have been a misunderstanding. I see your point, but here's where I'm coming from. Let's talk through this calmly. From my perspective, I'd appreciate it if we could revisit this later. Let's try to find a middle ground. Let's place these into a real situation. Person A. I felt blindsided during yesterday's meeting. I didn't know the plan had changed. Person B. Yeah, I should have reached out earlier. I apologize. There was a last-minute update. Person A. I get that. I just want to make sure we're on the same page moving forward. Person B. Absolutely. I'll keep you updated next time. Conflict resolved. Calm, respectful, effective. Segment 32. Advanced vocabulary for personal reflection. C1 speakers often reflect deeply about identity, decisions, emotions. Here are natural, sophisticated words commonly used for self-reflection. Accountability, taking responsibility for actions. Authenticity, being true to yourself. Growth, personal development. Intention, purpose behind actions. Patterns, repeated behaviors, triggers, things that cause emotional reactions. Reflection, thinking deeply. Awareness, understanding yourself. Let's see them naturally. I'm trying to be more aware of my patterns lately. I realized I tend to take on too much because I hate disappointing people. I'm focusing on growth and being more authentic with my decisions. These words help express deeper thoughts in a clear, natural way. Segment 33, a realistic conversation about relationships. Here's an everyday conversation between two friends about navigating expectations in a new relationship. Person A. I really like him, but I'm not sure we're on the same wavelength sometimes. Person B. What makes you think that? Person A. He's great, but he avoids deeper conversations, and I need more clarity about where things are going. Person B. That's fair. Have you tried bringing it up gently? Person A. I did. He said he's taking things slow because he doesn't want to rush another commitment. Person B. Well, that's understandable. Everyone moves at their own pace. You just need to know whether his pace works for you. Expressions to notice. On the same wavelength. Bring it up gently, taking things slow. Everyone moves at their own pace. Whether his pace works for you. All very natural and extremely common in English-speaking cultures. Segment 34, Advanced Listening for Motivation. Sometimes people reveal their motivation indirectly. Listening for intention is a key C1 skill. Here are lines with hidden meanings. I'll think about it. Needs time or isn't ready to commit. Let me get back to you. Needs space or more information. I'm not sure that's the best idea. Politely saying no. That's one way to look at it. Disagreement. Do you mind if we talk later? Overwhelmed or emotionally tired. Here's a short example. Person A. Are you coming to the party on Saturday? Person B. I'll see how I'm feeling. Meaning, probably not. Knowing how to interpret these subtle cues makes you a genuinely advanced listener. Segment 35. Expanding ideas. Naturally, native speakers often expand ideas naturally without sounding too formal or too casual. Here are useful expansion starters. To be more specific, what I mean is, let me give you an example. Another thing worth mentioning is, it's also important to point out that this ties into something else I've been thinking about. Example, I've been overwhelmed lately. To be more specific, work has been draining my energy way more than usual. These starters help you explain your thoughts clearly and naturally. Segment 36, Advanced Scenario Dealing with Change. Let's explore a deep, reflective conversation. Person A, I've been struggling with change lately. Everything feels unpredictable. Person B, I get you. Change is uncomfortable even when it's necessary. Person A, exactly. I know it's part of life, but I wish I felt more grounded. Person B, that's normal. Maybe you just need time to adjust. Some transitions hit harder than others. Person A, yeah, I'm trying to keep things in perspective. Here we hear powerful natural phrases. Struggling with change, feels unpredictable, more grounded, need time to adjust, keep things in perspective. These expressions help you sound calm, mature, and fluent. Segment 37, The Language of Adult Responsibility. As you move deeper into C1 level English, you'll notice that adults often talk about responsibility, obligations, and commitments in subtle, emotionally aware ways. Here are expressions native speakers rely on. I'm trying to stay on top of things. I've got a lot on my plate right now. I'm doing my best to keep everything balanced. I'm trying to be more intentional with my time. I need to prioritize this. I can't take on anything else at the moment. I'm stretched too thin. Let's put these into a natural dialogue. Person A, how's everything going? You seem a bit overwhelmed. Person B, yeah, I've just got a lot on my plate right now. I'm trying to stay on top of things, but it's been a struggle. Person A, I get that. Anything you can drop or postpone? Person B, I wish, but everything feels urgent. I'm stretched too thin. Person A, that's tough. Maybe prioritize what actually needs your attention and let the rest wait. These expressions sound natural because they're used daily by English speakers to talk about workload, mental capacity, and time management. Segment 38, Advanced Phrases for Professional Communication. At the C1 level, you need to handle professional communication with confidence. Here are expressions professionals use constantly, clarifying, just to make sure I understand. So what you're saying is, do you mean that? Politely pushing back. I see your point, but I have a slightly different take. I'm not entirely convinced yet. Could we revisit this? Showing initiative. I can take the lead on that. I'll look into it and keep you posted. Let me gather more information. Managing expectations. I might need a bit more time. This could take longer than expected. I'll do my best to get it done by tomorrow. Now here's a natural workplace interaction. Person A, do you think you can finish the report today? Person B, I'll do my best, but it might take longer than expected. Just to make sure I understand, you want the updated data included too, right? Person A, yes, please. Person B, got it. I'll work on it now and keep you posted. Clear, responsible, and professional. This is mature English communication at its best. Segment 39, Advanced Emotional Intelligence Through Language. Emotional intelligence is a huge part of fluent communication, especially at the C1 level. Here are natural phrases that show empathy without sounding forced. That sounds incredibly frustrating. I can imagine that wasn't easy. You handled that really well. I'd feel the same way if I were in your position. Thanks for sharing that with me. It makes sense that you feel that way. Let's see these in a real-life moment. Person A. I really messed up in today's presentation. My mind just went blank. Person B. That sounds incredibly stressful. I can imagine that wasn't easy. But honestly, you handled it better than you think. Everyone freezes sometimes. This is advanced emotional communication, not overly dramatic, not robotic. Segment 40. Common advanced expressions used by native speakers. Here are everyday expressions native speakers use without thinking. Perfect for C1 fluency. For what it's worth. To be fair. As far as I can tell, at this point, if anything, it wouldn't hurt to. Come to think of it, now that you mention it, I've been meaning to. Before I forget. Example in conversation. Person A. I'm wondering whether I should take a short break from work. Person B. For what it's worth, I think it wouldn't hurt to take a few days off. You've been pushing yourself really hard lately. Smooth, natural, helpful expressions that native speakers use constantly. Segment 41. Advanced scenario dealing with uncertain future plans. Let's look at a realistic conversation about uncertainty. Something nearly every adult faces. Person A. I'm not sure what the next year is going to look like for me. Everything feels unpredictable. Person B. I hear you. A lot of people are feeling that way right now. Person A. I used to have everything planned out. Now it feels like I'm just trying to stay afloat. Person B. That's completely understandable. Maybe instead of planning the whole year, you could focus on short-term goals. Person A. Yeah, that actually sounds more manageable. Key expressions here. Trying to stay afloat. Feels unpredictable. Focus